Hey YouTubers, what's up? So I was doing some thinking the other day and I recently discovered that I had never actually made a video out of all the videos I've made on my YouTube channel since I started doing this, or since I've even started getting into this hobby, that I made a video kind of about me and why it is I've gotten into these kind of hobbies in the first place when it comes to collecting otaku goods and making these videos on my YouTube channel. So in this video here, I'm actually going to tour you through the areas of my house where I have most of my otaku goods and kind of describe a little bit of back history behind me and just a little bit about me itself and why I kind of got into this hobby in the first place and what kind of started me down this path of the last probably 3.5 years now, since the beginning of 2013, I want to say. So not quite 3 years, but about 3 years. Anyways, just a forewarning to anyone watching this video that there might be a little bit of not safe for work content in the actual video itself, but I want to reassure everybody that this is all for educational purposes, just to describe my life. It's not meant to be in any way over-sexualized or anything like that, but there may be some not safe for work imagery. It won't be extremely graphic or anything like that, but just a heads up to prepare you for that. So why don't we get started? I'm going to kind of show you through sections of my room. There will be some messy parts where I haven't really gotten everything organized because, well, I just recently started a new job in February, which is coming up. And until that starts happening, then I have to budget out how I want to kind of renovate currently my room situation and do everything with that. So why don't we get started? And I hope you guys like the video and learn a little about me and my past. Okay guys, I'm going to start over in this corner of the room and show you these two posters I have on the wall of a character from the Lump of Sugar game Prism Rhythm, and I believe that's Kira Goldstar from Saga Planets on the bottom. I believe that's what that is. But I'm going to start with these two posters and tell you right now that these two posters, in addition to another one of Kood from Little Busters, is kind of what started me down this hobby to begin with. It's really interesting because a long time ago I had looked up a room when I was kind of getting into visual novels when I first played Katawa Shoujo back in 2012. I started getting into Japanese animated culture. And I'm not really a big anime fan. I still am not to this day. I've never really watched a lot of it. And I'm not a huge VN fan because I haven't played many VNs or as much as anybody out there. But I really enjoy Japan and its culture. And before I actually kind of get into the details of how it really started, I want to reassure that I never really got into this hobby because of the 2D animation environment. I actually got into this hobby because I was interested in the culture. And then I kind of got exposed more to the 2D animation and got into that as a kind of sub-branch. A lot of people ask me, are you really into anime and stuff like that? And is that originally what kind of got you down this path to begin with? And I say no. I'm not really a big anime fan, nor do I watch a lot, so if you kind of quiz me on something, I'm not going to be some guy that knows too much about it. But it all started for me when, after playing Katawa Shoujo and kind of getting into this culture and just getting into Japan's culture in general for wanting to teach English, I ended up realizing that I looked up online, otaku rooms. And there's this one famous guy that always comes up. I believe he's from Sweden, it might be Norway, where there's this huge otaku room, and some of the goods he has in there actually match some of mine. And I realized that he kind of ordered all this stuff, and I believe it might have been from Amiyami at the time, and he had this huge room with all these goodies in it. And I noticed that he had this Lump of Sugar poster that's displayed on the wall here, in addition to the Kira Goldstar in the bottom there. And it was really interesting because I decided, you know what, I want to start collecting this kind of stuff, and I want to get a room just like this guy. And that kind of just started me down this path to really get into this hobby. So I went to Zazzle.com, which is a website that prints some posters, and I got this 24 by 36 custom made, found the image online in its grand 5,000 by 6,000 plus pixel resolution, PNG, whatever it was at the time. And I got it printed out in great quality, and it pretty much matched exactly what his looked like. And then from there, I kind of just went into the hobby a lot more. And I'll go over to this little shelf over here where some of my figures are to the left here. And originally, one of the very first couple figures I got were some Little Busters figures and some Little Busters material. And I actually ended up selling a lot of that stuff to a friend who's a lot more into it than I am. But some of the original figures I started buying were the Shiro, for example, that's displayed right here, in addition to the Nymphs, which a buddy of mine named Astro exchanged with me. He actually bought me both of those figurines. The Nyarko was kind of recent before I went to Japan, and I started getting into figure collecting and kind of collecting stuff for my room after the little Busters material. And eventually, as you can tell, it kind of just went into an insane hobby when I actually went out to Japan. And the Nyarko stuff, and except the one on the far left over here, which is the prize figure from Sega, and a lot of this material up on this shelf was actually originally from me getting into the hobby to start. And eventually it just kind of turned into, you know, a mass box collection for all the figurines I ended up purchasing in Japan. And I really became a big figure collector. And interestingly enough, that kind of, when I got back from Japan, developed into more. I really liked getting a lot of wall scrolls. This one was actually free, the one of Tamaki. I can't remember her name right now. From Too Hard 2. I can't remember her name. She has a bunch of figurines of her, and you saw one over here with the popsicle. That actually was the wall scroll that came with it when I bought it. And I ended up just getting a lot of usually kind of safer work wall scrolls. Eventually, it turned into me buying some VNs when I went over in Japan in 2013. And this was one of the wall scrolls I got for collecting the Motosugite Yabai game. Sorry, not wall scrolls, that's a poster. And eventually it started to get more into the lewd environment. And as you can tell, you know, you have a half-naked chick here. You have kind of a half-naked chick up here. The Kokoro Function Neo wall scroll that I got. And then eventually I just started to get into a little more lewd collecting. And originally, because I had just come back from Japan, you know, or I was leaving Japan and I was kind of getting money from savings, I had been staying in my parents' house for a couple months. And I needed a place to put it, so I actually ended up putting it in their house. And my parents were actually pretty cool about it. They were like, you know, as long as you keep it away from our area, which is why I'm kind of in a basement, I guess, you can put it where you need to. And so, you know, the rest is just kind of history. And over the last, you know, year, I've just been kind of collecting, and I found more out about it, and I wanted to do the Akihabara guidebook, and a bunch of things just kind of went from there. And I got really into figure collecting, and a lot of my figures have been sold. Well, some of them have been sold. Like, my collection changes every so often. It's never the same, but it kind of just started getting more and more, like, I was really getting into a lot of not just figure collecting, but other things as well. And you might have already noticed, like, all the wall scrolls in here, and, you know, the different figurines and stuff. And I have a Dakimakura of Maria from Shinmai Mao no Testament, and you know, this obviously this pillow's too big. I need to get a better pillow that fits her size. But you know, then I started questioning, you know, why am I buying Dakimakuras? Why am I buying all this kind of weird material? Like, you know, I have this bag from the artist who does the Koyasuro Koro no, I keep saying Koisuro Natsu no Last Resort, which is not what I want to say. Koigasaku Koro Sakura Doki, that's what it is. And the guy who does that artwork. And I bought like a Honoka laptop case bag. And then Senna was one I bought when I was in Japan in 2013. I have a box here of a bunch of like little goodies that we can kind of check out right now. And I'll just kind of open it and show you what's inside. Like, there's Love Live bow ties in there, which I had purchased. A couple like lump of sugar collector's material stuff, a bunch of the Alcana trading cards, button pins, and CDs and things like that. And eventually it just started to get more and more of not just figure collecting. And it's really interesting because I didn't think that my collecting would go as far as it did. And, you know, not just the wall scrolls, you know, I went to the Comic-Cats. These two are from very good friends of mine from the website that I frequent of Fuanavel, and you know, I ended up picking posters. That actually, Alcana, is actually a bag that I got at Comic-Cat, and I made it into like a poster type thing by cutting out some of the string and everything like that, and I thought it'd be kind of cool to have like a little poster of that. But it all really started with these two images, and I wanted to just make a really big kind of room. And as you can tell, it's not really as organized. You know, I have my Genki books there, with a grammar book. I have the original 3 Madoka novels, and I don't know why I really have those. You know, this was a gift. I showed that in a video one time of some old tickets they used, excuse me, in the trains in Japan. And I just kind of started to really develop more of the hobby. And I got, you know, an Opie mouse pad from the new light novel anime that's going on, the Cavalry show. I've already shown you the life-size Opie mouse pad with the actual silicone implants, which are like real breasts. I have a Kobuto mouse pad, ass pad, I guess, a Yami ass pad. I have the Chino Dakimakura, which I haven't really put on anything. A Love Live cosplay outfit, which I actually just wanted to put on display. It was actually originally purchased for a friend of mine who wanted to get into a little bit of cosplay. And then I just ended up keeping the uniform after, like, well, she never used it. So I ended up keeping the uniform, and that's why I have all the bow ties, and I have, like, the costume. So I'm actually probably going to get, like, a little mannequin thing that I can put the costume on and display it. I don't know. And, you know, I just have, like, a bunch of the boxes, and I kept them all. And it's really interesting because also if we go out here, you know, I got this Momo Clear Transparency I bought. I had purchased a towel from Softmap of this character from, what game is this? If this is a game. Yakimochi Stream. Yeah, I don't really know exactly what that is. And then this is an example. My cousin of mine gave me a Daytolf. It's not really one I'm using. It was just to kind of see what the size was like to kind of put figures in there. And as you can see, this is not always figures I show in my videos, but I still have a bunch of figures in these cases as well. And I bought, you know, throw pillows and, you know, like all these additional more Kurosaka Doki and, you know, Kantoku wall scroll. And it's kind of, you know, as you could tell, like none of that stuff's, it's all Candyland back there and a bunch of old stuff that need to be organized. But for the most part, you know, I started to realize that I just really got more into not just figure collecting, but kind of putting out so much more. And I didn't actually think this would kind of really ever spark this, because it all started by me just searching up. And I might post a link in the link description if you want to see that guy's room. Or just type in otaku room, and I'm sure it'll come up with that Swedish guy who like lives in an apartment that has just a bunch of this stuff. And you know, it was kind of a challenge to myself, because I told myself I want to rival this guy's room. And this little section right here is for a Hinata wall scroll. I finally found a life-size Hinata wall scroll from Nobleworks, which I'm really excited about. Should come this next week. But yeah, it started with figure collecting, and it just expanded beyond that. And it's really interesting because you think you start with one hobby, but then it kind of, you know, went more into a bigger hobby. And this kind of gets into how I was talking about how I started getting some lewd things and things, you know, for my collection. And interestingly enough, you know, a lot of my female friends and male friends as well, you know, they call me a pervert and stuff like that because of the content I use. But nobody, I don't think, really judges me for it, because I don't think they think I'm a bad person. But, you know, my viewpoints after living in Japan, sorry, I'm just folding up this bag here. My viewpoints after living in Japan, and just, you know, my views on life and everything just kind of changed my opinion a lot about this kind of content. And I don't like to force hobbies down anybody's throat. You know, I think everybody should have their own hobbies and what they enjoy. You can tell, like, this room just needs to be repainted, renovated, and things like that, which I'll probably work on in the next 2 months. But, you know, everybody has their hobbies. And it's important to not ever shove your hobbies down anyone's throat. And I don't expect people to, you know, really like what I like. And they don't have to. It's, you know, it's what you enjoy and what you think is fun for you. If you like to, for example, buy Legos and build Legos, you know, go ahead. You can do that. You just got to understand that it's... everybody, you know, has their own enjoyment in something, and, you know, stress-free relief thing. And I just challenged myself that I wanted to beat this guy's collection, and I'm working my ass off to do it. And at some point, I think this will get bigger. Well, it definitely will get bigger. And not only with figures, but probably other material as well. Maybe it's just because I like the culture a little bit. otaku from Japan are extremely friendly people, especially when some of them were speaking to me in English and I could, piece together a little bit of Japanese with them. And they're really great people. They're really nice people, and it's a very bad stigma viewed in Japan. And I can see why some people might come in this room and view it as poor as well. But my family's pretty accepting about it, including my cousins who are a little bit older than me, and everybody has kind of their hobby. And when I was living in my parents' house, they were even saying, it's what you want to do. Just we don't want to have to deal with it, and that's exactly what it is. I don't want to shove this hobby down anyone's throat. I'm not going to bring my new friends over and say, hey, by the way, I'm going to tell you all about my 2D animation collection from Japan. When you see it, you see it, and that's how it is. It's not going to be a passing conversation discussion unless, you're kind of into that kind of stuff as well. Then, of course, that might be something you might discuss. But I enjoy Japan because it's a great country, and there's some really nice people, and it's a really safe place to visit, and I highly recommend going. But I don't just enjoy Japan because of this. I enjoy Japan for a lot of other reasons. And that's kind of just a little bit of history behind me and kind of where I stand on a lot of my viewpoints on this and my collection. And it'll get bigger. It'll get much bigger. And I have plans of what I want to get in the next year, and it'll keep expanding and keep expanding until probably, to be honest, you can kind of see out here with this open space, a lot of this will get pushed out, and probably this whole area will be filled with this kind of content, or depending on, when by the end of the year, I'm hoping to get an apartment with a buddy of mine again, and or go back to Japan. It depends on what I want to do. The big problem with a lot of this is the collection itself. This stuff is so hard to move, and especially on long distances. And so if you're going to invest in this, try to find a permanent residence to keep it and, just renovate around it. But moving it all over the place can be a pain in the butt. So that's a big suggestion I highly recommend for people. But I hope this was kind of a fun, informative video for you guys, just a little bit about the history of me and kind of why I started down this collection, and how it'll keep expanding, and it'll keep getting bigger, and well, it's just the way the cookie crumbles, I guess. Well, guys, thanks for joining me in this video. I hope it was fun, like I said. And remember, if you have any questions about how to start your own collection, or if you have any questions about any of the content you've seen in the video that I haven't discussed, post it in the questions section or send me a message. I'll be glad to answer them, help you out. Where did you find this? Where did you buy this? What is this? And I'll tell you. All right, guys, thanks for joining me, and we'll catch you in the next video. Bye-bye.